Every time I go to take a picture to be like, yeah, recording night, one of you has your mouth open every time. Like, I can't not get it without that.
No, wait, Allison, just take it right now. Chris, open your mouth.
Have to take a picture with all of us are
Three,
open.
2. Except Chris, who failed.
You motherfucker.
Thanks, Chris.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Post it. Put it on the internet.
Hello and welcome to episode 87 of the GameBrew podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and save all of our Coca-Cola caps to win a 1996 Toyota Corolla. Was that a thing?
That's
amazing.
I don't know if that was a thing. There were
Listen,
things.
it's one of the things we do, so it better be.
I am your host, Ian Carillion Richard, and I'm joined by Dan Victor Saltzpire Ratz.
Begone, foul heretics! Sigma wills it.
Chris Barden Gorikson writes.
Come on, Wozix!
Alex Marcus Kruber writer.
You know, we're not a bad unit, all things considered.
And
good.
Allison Sienda Fuegonesis Van Divender.
I've some real red-hot moves, darlings.
Oh my gosh, you guys nailed it today.
Boom!
I'm
Give us
just
a month off and we can do anything, man.
That was amazing. That's it. We're doing Storytime, the podcast. Forget the regular show. Just everybody keep those accents. We'll be fine. Today, in the first half of the show, we'll discuss vendors in video games, and in the second half, we'll be talking about the video game price hike. Yikes, that's coming down the pike. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what are we all drinking this week? Oh my god, these are gigantic. I have gigantic beers today.
Hell yeah. Me too, bro. Me
I
too.
can't open this.
So I think we're all drinking some sort of Saison. I'm drinking Manor Hill Brewing's Grisette. It's a farmhouse ale. So all Saisons are farmhouse ales, but not all farmhouse ales are Saisons. But
Right.
I'm doing the best I can over here.
Working with what we got.
What's
That's
the
good.
distinction there, Chris?
So basically, a Saison is a specific type of farmhouse ale, but they're all kind of characterized by having some kind of funky flavors that are, I guess, traditionally come from just you left your wheat in the farmhouse and it had some off-color flavors, but we're still going to drink it.
Yeah, it's like a little bit, like it's a little bit funky. It's got that farmhouse funk to it.
Yeah, that's going to be on my next hit album, Farmhouse Funk.
Farmhouse funk. That's a good one. That's like some real good bluegrass funk. I don't know how that would be a thing, but it would be pretty sweet.
Just bluegrass with sick bass lines.
Yeah, but we are drinking Saisons because, Alex, you informed us about Saisons and why we should drink them.
Yeah, so Saisons are my favorite style of beer.
I didn't know that.
Traditionally, they're from a very specific place in Belgium, and the farmers would brew them in the winter, and then they would store them in their barns, and that's part of what they would give the farm workers during the summer months. After a hard day of working, then they would all come back to the barn and drink Saison.
Crack open a keg. Let loose.
Let loose.
In a way, the Saison was part of their payment for the farm work that they did that day.
That's cool.
To go with the theme of this episode.
Yes, money.
Oh,
What are
money.
you drinking, Alex?
So I found Saison in the Key of Life,
Oh.
which is from Free Will Brewing Company.
Nice.
Are you sure it's not Free Willy Brewing Company?
Free Willy Brewing
No,
Company.
that's a different one. That's a different one.
My bad, I thought that
okay.
was the Saison DuPont,
Yeah, I have
is
that
like-
one as well, but
which is like the Saison.
Yeah, that's like
but this one, in the Key of Life, I mean, it's one of the greatest albums ever, so
yeah.
I had to give this one a try.
I'm sorry.
so
Who
yeah,
is that
it's,
album by? I've never heard of that before.
What?
You've never heard? What?
Guys,
I'm sorry.
just inform him and then we can move on.
I'm sorry.
Have you heard of a guy named Stevie Wonder?
Stevie Wonder?
It's Stephen Wonder?
Oh no.
It had certain,
Oh boy.
certain slappers like I Wish and Sir Duke.
I really have never heard this album before. I
Wow.
feel dumb now.
Have you never heard I Wish or Sir Duke?
Nope.
Go. Okay, we need
Shame
to pause
him
right
later.
now so you can go fucking
Shame him
listen to
later.
that.
Let's not pause right now. We'll do it at a later date. But Ian, aside from being bad at listening to music, what are you drinking?
So I'm drinking Boulevard Brewing's Tank 7, which is an American Saison. And I gotta tell you, it does one of the things about Saisons, and I think it's what was the one you were talking about, Chris? DuPont Saison?
Saison DuPont.
Saison DuPont. I've had that beer before. And one of the things about that is it is aggressively a Saison, so it's like really funky, if I do recall. And this one is like halfway between a Saison and a like a hazy IPA. So it's kind of like Saison on the front. It's a little bit funky, and then it finishes citrusy and like smooth. It's really nice.
Weird.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Also, Saison's French for season.
Speaking of French, I'm drinking a Saison by Pizza Boy. This is their little thing. It's Pennsylvania brewer, but it's called Oui Oui Ooh La La Saison.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's brewed with orange and lemon zest and dry hopped with Amarillo hops.
There you go.
So-
Amarillo hops.
So it's very good. It's very light. Is also going to make me drunk. So
yeah, that's
Do you guys
solid.
want to know what pizza is in French?
Pizza.
What?
It's pizza.
It's pizza. Allison, though, what are you drinking down there?
Airplane bottles of Crown Royal because I'm fancy.
Also French. Canadian.
And it's thematic because it's ritzy, right? Because like crowns
Yeah, it's
and
fancy.
royal.
And they've got French speakers in Canada.
They do. Yes.
Yeah.
Francophones.
True.
That's a thing. That's a GameBrew fact. And
Hey, that.
Great French speaking in Quebec.
yeah, I've never had it before actually.
What do you think?
Oh,
This is my first time.
Crown is one of my
And?
favorite whiskeys.
I'm not a whiskey drinker, but this is probably the most drinkable whiskey I've ever had.
Oh
'Cause
my
it's so
God, yeah.
sweet. It's like it feels like candy, you know?
It does. It does.
that's
Yeah.
also where you can get in trouble with Crown Royal.
Isn't that? I feel like that's most alcoholic beverages in Allison where she can get in trouble. But
That is also true. Yes. And then she'll take a vodka drink.
Oh,
And then the lager drink.
Yeah.
and then the
cider
cider drink.
Chumbawamba is life, bro.
As you do. Oh my God. Okay, so let's talk about some games we've been playing. So there's only one game I've been playing that I want to talk a little bit about, and then I just have like other news. So I'll talk first. I humbly nominate myself to speak.
Wow.
So humble.
So humble.
There's this game
whole
called
bundle
Sky that I got, which is like a free flight game that I've been playing, which is just a very nice, like fly around and just land places and do quests, and it's very chill. And
Sky
I would-
Children of the Light.
No, I don't think there's a subtitle. I think it's just Sky, Skye.
I think that you're looking at is a mobile game, Chris.
Should be on Steam for $0, but it's super fun. You just have a little seaplane, you fly around, deliver things to people. Eventually you get a little gun, you can shoot targets. It's really
That looks
fabulous
awesome.
and chill. I'm waiting.
Nice.
The reason I'm playing this is because I'm trying to like psych myself up for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is coming out later.
Are you gonna get a joystick?
I am so into the flight stick thing. I'm like, should I buy it now? Should I wait? Should I buy it now? Should I wait? But I also needed another Xbox controller, so I bought this really cool Cyberpunk
cool-
2077 controller.
That's
So it's
real
like
cool.
a special edition one.
This is an audio medium. Nobody else cares who's listening, but it's very cool, guys.
It's
It looks
shiny on
cool.
one side. It looks
Yeah.
cool. It's shiny, and then the other side is got color. It's buttons. There are no colors on the buttons though, so that might be hard for some things. Go ahead.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
Sky kind of reminds me of. Did you guys ever play Crimson Skies?
Oh, I love that game.
That game was
That
awesome.
game was so sick. It was like also free when you got an Xbox 360.
It was. It came with it. No, Xbox, regular Xbox.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I did play this game.
It was like alternate future sky pirates.
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
like zeppelins and
It was
planes.
like
that game
a
was
game
sick.
that was like Sky Captain of the World of Tomorrow.
Oh, that movie sucks.
I kind of like it.
The premise is good.
Yeah.
It was boring. I love you, Chris.
And then in other news, my brother bought components to build a computer. So
Nice.
He's going to be joining us in PC Land pretty soon, which is fun.
Huzzah!
Nice.
Good. As he
Another-
should.
Another person to join the flock.
That's right.
It is very difficult playing games with your brother when we tried to have Discord and game chat going at the same time.
It
Did
was,
not work.
yeah, being the
It's
Discord
tough.
translator is tough. Chris, what have you been up to?
So I've been away in Colorado for a little bit, but before I did that, I went and played through all of the Punisher arcade game.
Nice. Wah, 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 wah.
Oh, which I was playing for a second with you, which was super fun.
Yes. Did we play that together?
We did. We didn't beat it together. I played with you, but we didn't.
Oh, I played it with someone recently and finished all of it.
I want to say you were playing with Bob.
That might be true. But yeah, so I finished that. It was a while ago. I just forgot to put it on the list. But it's a really good shooter game, side scroller.
It has way more like actual gameplay functionality to it than a lot of other side-scrolling beat 'em ups, which is cool. Like,
Yep. You can pick up grenades.
yeah, you pick up grenades. Like you get guns occasionally. There's actually like moves that you can use. Whereas like the X-Men side-scrolling beat 'em up or
Well, that one's even better. The X-Men beat 'em up is better than even like Turtles in Time, which you literally
True.
can do one thing.
right.
And you just swing.
Yeah, but the Punisher one's really good.
Yeah, I want to find more like it.
Check
And then
it out.
I've also been playing Warhammer 40k combat cards. For whatever reason,
Combat
I've
cards.
gotten sucked back into Warhammer 40k lore. I read 2.5 of the Horus Heresy books, so I've just been kind
Wow.
of getting into that again. I
Get
don't know
back
why,
in there.
but like I need to not get sucked back down the hole of buying
More
and painting
Warhammer stuff. That's I mean, it's anytime with Dungeons and Dragons, I like buy miniatures and I'm like, oh, I could paint these.
But I
That's
should.
whenever
But I
should.
could.
I could, but I should. You know?
Don't
Yeah, but
go
I mean,
to
like,
the
I
dark
still have
place.
a bunch of old like Space Wolf stuff that I'm like, I want to play, but it's A, an expensive hobby to get back into.
Right.
B, I don't know really anyone that plays it, and
Yeah, right now might be hard.
yeah, and C, you can't really go in
Yeah.
person. But yeah, the lore's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, you'll have to show me around combat cards. You know I love a good card game. So,
It's pretty simple, but it's kind of fun.
Dan, what about you? Anything cool?
Well, I finished Dying Light. I was excited for the second one. It's a long game, but
Sure is.
which is why I had never finished it because I got like almost all the way through and there was just a lot. I was just tired of running from zombies. But I mean, it still kind of has that fun sort of parkour-esque. It's like Mirror's Edge and Dead Island had a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good, fun multiplayer game too.
it really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I loved just drop kicking zombies all the time,
Oh,
especially
the
when
drop
they
kick
had
is
like
so
the
good.
weekends where your drop kicks were explosive. That was great.
Oh, that was really cool. And also, you can kick some stuff and they just go flying
Yes.
sometimes when you get really strong. But the real big one that I finished was a recent release was The Last of Us 2.
Oh
I
boy!
finished that.
Are you gonna do like a spoiler cast on it, or
I mean, if the people want it, I would love to talk about it with some people who also finished it because apparently I didn't think it was this way, but it's a divisive game among people. Like there is a large number of people who dislike it. Like one of the guys I work with played it and we were talking about it while we were playing it together. And like as we're doing, it's like, oh yeah, this. And then once he finished it, he was like, I didn't really like it. And I was like, are you kidding me? I loved it. I thought it was so good. And it's just, oh God, it's hard. 2, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And 3, it's got so much going on that I really liked it.
do you think that the level of violence in that game fits the narrative? And I asked that question having no personal experience.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Because the level of violence in this game, and kind of in the first one, and the first one was a little bit less, maybe. This one, it's a little bit more intense, and I think it fits the way that the story is framed, just because there's a lot of Oh, there's a lot of things that happen.
There are spoilers. Things happen.
So things happen. Like, I literally can't talk about any of the plot because it'll spoil it. So yeah, I go play it, and then I'm gonna find some other people to talk about it with, and we'll have a spoiler cast for The Last of Us 2. I might even have my buddy Tim, and he has a podcast as well. It is called Chaotic Neutral Podcast. They're kind of a general podcast, but they talk about stuff similar to we do. So him and me might have a little collab on that, so we could talk about it, and that could be pretty cool.
Very fun. Very fun. We'll look out for that. And then Alex, anything new?
Yeah, so I started Orion Legacy of the Coriodan,
Oh, yeah.
which is fun. I got the graphic novel, which is awesome. And so I've been reading that and playing it at the same time, which is cool.
Love it.
Not super far into it, but we talked a whole lot about it on a couple episodes ago. And then we've been doing our nightly Warzone games, which has been a whole lot of fun. And then I also, in my most recent Humble Bundle purchase, the Fight for Racial Justice bundle, I got NBA 2K20, and so that is now rocking on my PC, and I've started my career again since I almost finished the season of 2K17. I know it's a long time ago, but I was like, I'm sticking it out. I'm going to finish it, and then they stopped supporting it. And so I couldn't finish it. So
that's ridiculous that they just stopped supporting it, so you can't even finish it now.
Yeah, I opened it up one day and my career was just not there. So I was like,
that's some garbage.
That's fantastic.
They just reclaimed that server space and we're like, sorry.
Buy our new game though.
I don't know. I have feelings about the whole way that they do the career mode thing. I find it interesting in that they're trying to give a sports game a story to follow, that so that you have some emotional connection to the actual game that you're playing.
Right.
But it's kind of like they hit you on the head with a sledgehammer with it, and they're like, you will do this story. And it's like, I just want to play some basketball, man.
I just want to play basketball, man.
So I think it's a little too much. I think they could take like 50% of the story out of it, and it would be more fun.
Do they have the thing where you can scan your face with your camera and make yourself the basketball player?
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah, it didn't work so well.
Yeah, okay. No one ever looks good in that.
The lighting in my room is weird, and so I had like all of these square splotches on my face of like how it like cross blended all of my pictures. So
I love it.
Yeah, I went with the stock head for my character.
Speaking of stock, our first topic this afternoon is all about buying and selling. That is, particularly, we're talking about vendors today. And as we have someone on the team who seems to be named after a Vande vendor, I thought it might be good to go with Allison first. Allison, is there like a particular vendor that speaks to you? You know, one that's not related to you in some way, maybe?
So I thought of a lot here, but I'm going to talk about one that I don't know if any of you know, because I don't know that any of you have played the Fire Emblem games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Anna, so she's a recurring merchant in all of the games. I just kind of like that they did that, where it's always her across all the games, no matter what. And although, like, she changes a little bit, like, she's always got the same image of, like, a finger on her face and a little redheaded ponytail. I don't know. I just think it's a really cute idea that it's always her. She's always so upbeat and sweet. And then she actually becomes a playable character later, which I think is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
But yeah, she's just a traveling merchant with her little secret shop. And then in Fire Emblem Heroes for your phone, the little gacha game.
Yeah, I played that one.
Yeah, I played that for a while. She's like the main character kind of in the beginning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she is, isn't she?
Yeah, she's not really a merchant anymore. I thought that was kind of funny because they'll still like bring up in the plot as you go, like these funny little things about how she's trying to profit off of things. Right. Like putting all the characters in swimsuits and then drawing them and selling them. Like she has these little like merchant moments, even though she's not a merchant anymore. I just really love her. I think she's adorable.
That's pretty cute.
It's also super meta for a gacha game on mobile that the vendor is the one who's like in charge of the game. It's like pretty honest.
It's pretty on the nose.
I think so. Right. I don't know. It's just like, that's one I thought of that I wasn't sure if anyone else would bring to the table. So.
No, it's not, but it is something that is kind of a through line for vendors. For me, is like the best vendors are always ones who have different roles in games than just buying and selling things. So
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that's going to come back too. Chris, it looks like you have thoughts.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump off that to another vendor who's in a bunch of different games.
Okay.
In the same series.
Yeah.
Marcus of Marcus Munitions.
Oh, from Borderlands.
Yes.
It's funny that they made him
Gods,
very Russian.
Yeah.
Very Russian sounding, but super capitalist. Like, ultra super capitalist. He's buying to everyone. He's selling to everyone. Like it's so blatant. And like every little thing, and he's got his vending machines, like that all have like, it's a beautiful day for capitalism and stuff like that.
It's a beautiful day for capitalism. I just love that character so much too.
Yeah.
He's so just like,
and he picks you up on the bus in the first game. He's like the first person you meet.
He's like the exposition in all of the games.
That's
he's
what I
the
was
one
going to
who's
say.
like telling the story.
He's the narrator.
So it's kind of cool that he's like the omnipresent voice who's telling the story to the people who are listening about these adventurers, but also he wants to get all your money by
in
selling
a way,
your guns.
it's really just about him.
It is.
Whoa.
And
There's a theme.
Oh, and
We're
there's
sensing a theme.
in Borderlands 2, they have that whole like cult of Marcus. There's like the massive statue of Marcus.
Yes, I remember that.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of meta again with the whole like it was with Anna, where it's just like they're really just in your face about like money
really
controls
runs the
everything.
world.
So
Yep.
Yeah, this game is all about getting stuff, and the money is stuff. That is really interesting though, that Marcus plays such a central role, and I think it's also telling about the themes of Borderlands, that there's like such a juxtaposition between those two sides of Marcus, like that he's very Russian but also very capitalist, and I think a lot of the other Borderlands vendors also kind of mirror that. Like if you think about Moxie, right? Mm-hmm. She's like this very powerful character, but she's also one who like in other games you would be like, ooh, is she just like sexy for like my benefit? But Moxie's like sexy for her own benefit, like she's in it for her.
Right. She's a self-made woman and she knows how to use it.
Yeah,
A self-made mother also.
true.
That too.
And like Hammerlock, it's like all of the characters in Borderlands are things.
Well, Hammerlock's not a vendor.
Hammerlock's he's not a vendor.
He's
right.
a quest giver.
He's a quest giver. But I just like riffing on Borderlands characters for a second. Hammerlock is this like really hardcore adventurer who like wants to shoot and kill all of the different kinds of things. And he also is like has a very nice domestic life with his husband that you find out about in Borderlands 3, which is kind
I
of.
don't think they're married.
They get married. It's an expansion.
Oh, they get. That's right. They
there
get
we go.
married.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which is kind of great.
Well, and I know you wanted, I'm totally going to step on your question, sorry. So, like, I think that there's something to be said about that, too. When I think about, like, Borderlands vendors as far as the people and then also the vending machines, like, that game and how it makes you invested in these characters who are then just machines throughout most of the game for you, but they still have their, like, own little voices and stuff. Like, that game really is all about the items, right? That's really Borderlands. That's all it is. And if I wasn't invested in these characters who then have these vending machines everywhere, I just feel like it would feel really empty. And I don't think I would enjoy the game as much because that game is made by the NPCs, and those are NPCs that I care about, even though they're just vendors. You know what I mean? Like I know their backstory and I like them and I want to know more, and it makes me more invested in the process of these items I have to have too.
Why don't you purchase something to blow somebody up?
Right? Yeah. It's just like I've had games where there are just vending machines, and I I don't know. I feel taken out of the game in a lot of ways when you don't have an interaction with a real person to sell things.
I know Ian typed this into the script there. The vending machines in BioShock.
Yes. Circus of Value.
The Circus of Value.
Wow. Which those vending machines are there, and those have kind of a story aspect of themselves, which like kind of speaks to the consumerism of
Rapture.
Rapture, and then of
Columbia?
Columbia. Yes.
You think I would have gotten that faster since I live in Columbia, Maryland?
2 on the nose. But all of those machines say that stuff to you as you're the Circus of Value, because it's like so like taglines. They're things that are just like earworms to get into your head and be like, oh yeah, this is where I buy the things. I hear that circus music and I know that's where I buy all my ammo and I buy all my stimulants and I buy all of these things.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a haven.
Yeah.
You know, in a very, very kind of scary world.
Yeah.
Similar to like some of those games from FromSoft where there's some super creepy vendors.
That's true.
Especially in the first, well, I guess the second FromSoft game, the first vendor you meet is like very creepy, overly creepy. And a lot of, first-time players just end up killing him.
Oh, that's true.
Because you can just kill any of them.
You just kill any vendor that you want because you don't like him.
Yeah.
It's the reverse of all the other games where they're just like, no, you have to deal with this person. From Software is just like, nah, just murder him. You're good. You don't have to deal with it anymore.
I mean, it could handicap you later, but also here's this cool sword that they drop. So, whatever.
Go for it. I think the idea of games that are really item based, and I think a lot of the From Software games are in a somewhat similar way to like Borderlands, not quite the same, but like if you also think about even older school, like Diablo has just a history of incredible vendors, Wirt and Squirt, but especially Wirt. Buying stuff from Wirt in the original Diablo was always a trip because it was just random and you never knew what you were going to get.
Especially getting his leg later.
Yeah, and you get his leg later, and that was crazy. And then also, a lot of vendors really featured heavily in story stuff in that game too, which was a great way to make them not just vending machines. So Adria later on in Diablo 3 becomes like the big evil villain at a certain point.
Spoiler.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't played Diablo 3. And also, like, I just love Covetous Shen. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He is great.
You rescue him and he's like, Covetous Shen!
Another game that's really item-based when you think about it is Animal Crossing. Because that's like, you're just buying items, you're buying clothes, you're buying, just different stuff. And so the vendors there are super important. Tom Nook is the basis of why you have a house. And you're just an indentured servant, I guess.
But
he is a benevolent despot.
I mean, it's nice that he gives you 0% interest.
Right. I was talking to someone today, actually. I was playing video games with a kid, and he was like, my mom, she hates Tom Nook. And I was like, what? How can you hate Tom Nook? He's like the nicest character ever. And she's like,
and Marcus should open up a shop together.
But you're like you're literally always in debt to him. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like the most pleasant in debt experience you could ever have in your life. I don't know. I don't see him as like a bad guy. I can't picture him as a capitalist person, even if he is. No, like Red is shady. He's not. Tom Nook's not shady.
I do want to pull Timmy and Tommy aside. And
oh my God!
Like, hey guys, are you okay?
Yeah,
are you fine?
That's fair.
Side note: I'm super upset that the alpacas aren't in this game yet.
Maybe they might be.
Also, the Oids aren't in the game, anyways. But.
That's true. Lloyd's, they build your bridges and stuff there.
What about a merchant in Resident Evil 4?
I was gonna say, speaking of shady merchants,
what you buying? That's our favorite.
Does he not have a name?
No, it's just merchant.
He's the merchant.
He's just the merchant. That's his name.
Yeah.
What you selling?
He became part of our lexicon in college because
he's so classy.
It was spring break my freshman year, and Strickler was playing Resident Evil 4 on the Wii, and I was just hanging out, and he would just keep going. So it just became, "What are you buying?" Whenever we went into like a store, not enough cash.
Man,
it was weird because he was playing that in my apartment, but he didn't live there.
I also didn't live
that
there
all day long.
and I was there.
Yeah,
everyone basically lived there.
True.
It's really nice of you.
But yeah, that is a staple in my vocabulary now.
And like he was always in the worst spots. It's just like he would be
right.
Yep.
Just so obnoxious.
I think my favorite was like one time you just like crawl up to a place and you're in a house and then you just see him through a little window. He's just like, hey there, what are you doing? And you're like, fucking, what are you doing here, man?
Like, I almost just got eaten like 5 times. You're asking me what I'm buying. I'm dealing with my PTSD right now. Give me a fucking second.
It's like, dude, there were 900 zombies over there. How are you still here?
What are you doing here?
Selling?
I remember he's like on a ledge somewhere in like a little hole, and then there's another one that's in this like dugout trench thing, and he's just like on the side, just hanging out.
He's like,
It was so much needed humor. You know, it was just like this little funny, weird moment in such a like fantastic game.
Yeah, Capcom's really good at doing that kind of stuff where it's just like, doesn't make any sense why he's here, but he's here.
It's a video game. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
What's funny is the voice actor actually is the same guy who plays Leon, who is the merchant.
No way.
Yes,
That's awesome.
I love that so much.
Paul Mercier,
so
Mercier? I guess Mercier because he's from the States, but yeah, that's true. The other thing about the merchant is like he's one of those cool characters where he doesn't really have a story himself, but his like presence implies story.
Yeah, you build your own character out of him.
Right.
He's just a blank slate that you're like, I don't know why you're here, but I'm going to make a reason in my head.
Yeah, like I would 100% read a graphic novel about the merchant from Resident Evil 4. Like about
I would 100% cosplay as the merchant.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! That's the Chris, we're cut that out of the episode. Nobody steal it. We're just doing it.
Our next group cosplay is now Resident Evil characters,
yes.
just so Chris can come around and sell us things.
And I'm just going to have a big old trench coat.
In like the most awkward moments at the con. Yeah.
But you're going to sell people mainly firearms, and anything they give you, you're going to be like, oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
That'd be so good.
I feel like vendors also, like, in addition to being the things sometimes that we love about games, sometimes they're the things we hate. So particularly like fuck Tingle. I hate Tingle.
Did you know that Tingle has his own video game?
Tingle has his own video game?
It's Tingle Rupee, freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
That's terrifying.
And the whole point is just to collect enough rupees to like ascend to godhood, essentially.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but I just like Tingle's annoying and the prices are way too high.
The rupees are too damn high.
But you know who's way better? Beetle. He's there for you. He's there for you when you need him.
Beetle is great from Wind Waker. My favorite Zelda game.
And he's in Breath of the Wild.
He is in Breath of the Wild. That's right.
He's just such a positive little nugget.
He is. He's always like walking around with that big bag full of bugs, and he's just like.
You know who else I love? Who's a bug? Who's a vendor? The singing map guy from Hollow Knight.
Oh yeah, he's so nice. It's just great because he's singing the song that's playing in the background. So it's like whenever you listen to, you're like. Oh, he's just humming along just like I am to the music that's playing right now.
He's like one of my favorites. And that's another thing where it's like a tough game and you come across him and you're like, oh, a friend. Hello, friend.
Thank God. All those little slips of paper everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny that like someone that's selling you stuff is like can be so safe.
A cool dude. Yeah.
So he plays a very small role in the game, but it's very annoying because of how much he charges. But the Magikarp salesman in Pokemon Red, Yellow, Red, Blue,
and
my
God,
Gold.
That's a deep cut, dude.
Yeah.
But he charges you like 500 monies, whatever, Pokemon dollars for a Magikarp. You're like, what?
To be fair,
why do I have to pay this much for this Magikarp?
To be fair, Gyarados is pretty sweet. Spoiler alert. Magikarp turns into Gyarados.
Yes. If the Magikarp does not evolve, Magikarp by itself is a
useless,
worthless Pokemon.
The most useless.
It's not about the journey, it's the end point.
Listen, Splash can every once in a while crit. Just every once in a while.
I just remembered my favorite vendor in all games of all time, and I can't believe I forgot that Moogles are the best
Moogles are
vendors.
the best.
Oh, wow.
Why did this just hit me?
From Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so why are the Moogles the best vendor, Allison?
Have you seen them?
They're so cute, you motherfucker.
I do like in Final Fantasy VII Remake the little Moogle kid too.
Moogle Kid is pretty cute.
Moogle anything is amazing, and the fact that it's going to vendor things for me is even better, okay?
I know we're winding down a little bit here, so I do want to give a shout out to my boy Bellathor in Whiterun for buying all of my stuff.
That's true.
Some call this junk. Me, I call them treasure.
Khajiit has wares if you have coin, though. I'm just saying.
So, Ian, one of the questions that I think we're going to bring up was what makes for a memorable merchant or like what connects you to that merchant. And for me, Hattori.
Yeah. Well, he's named after Hattori Hanzo.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hattori, you connect to him because he's very much part of the story, and it's a big mission that you have to go through, of sword and dumplings.
Yes.
And so I liked him a lot because going through that mission and fighting for him and trying to help him open his shop back up. So because of that, it's like anytime I had to sell my swords or stuff, like I would always go back to him to do that because I had that connection.
Oh,
That's really cool.
That is kind of cool.
And it's also interesting because Hattori's an elf in Novigrad, which is a place where a lot of non-humans weren't welcome, but he was pretty well respected outside of the people that were trying to rough him out.
That is interesting and cool that they're connecting him to another context as well. Like the Hattori Hanzo character is one that kind of has ascended all mediums. I remember
Because of Kill Bill.
Right, Kill Bill is what I was thinking about. But it's cool that he's like usually associated with like food and swords at the same time. Because even in Kill Bill, it's at like a sushi restaurant, if you'll recall.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But also he was a historic person.
Yes, but also
He was a guy.
Also that.
Cool. Well, if you have any awesome vendors that you want to shout out, or what makes a great vendor, let us know on our Discord at bit.ly/discobrew, or on the social medias. You can find us at the GameBrew. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our next vending problem, which is the price increase in video games. Stick with us. Welcome back to the second half of the GameBrew podcast, episode 87. We are drinking beers as per usual, but 'tis the season for Saisons. How are they tasting, my friends?
They are very tasty, my friend.
Refreshing.
The more that I drink these, the more it like smells like gack for some reason. There's like a gackiness to
That's
it.
interesting.
Like the Nickelodeon.
I wouldn't drink that beer.
Yeah, stop drinking that. I mean, I've seen Righteous pour at least 2 very large glasses of that Saison. So I'm only a little worried for what's going to happen when he stands up.
Well, this is all that remains
God.
for the
That's a band.
our non-visual podcast. It's about an inch of liquid left in my very
A
tall
little bit.
You don't have anywhere to be tomorrow morning, do you?
No, not until
No.
noon.
There you go.
No.
There we go.
But no, I'm loving the Saisons.
Yep.
Allison, are you still drinking Crown?
I finished one and I do the other, but I really just can't open this for the life of me. So I guess it's just going to stay in here forever.
Do you have any-
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Do you have any pliers?
No, not here. No.
Or
I literally
do you have a 1/4-inch drill bit?
Oh,
not
no.
at my
Just
computer
get,
table.
just
No.
get something sharp.
I used my teeth on the last one and I don't want to do that again.
No, just get a knife. Just get a knife and like stab it, and then you can suck out all of the Crown Royal.
I have cat ears.
And
I don't
then-
have a lot of tools here to work with.
Cat
do have-
ears are cute, but I don't think they'll help in this situation.
I don't think so either. I got nothing,
Listen,
guys. I'm sorry. It's fine. I don't need it.
I'm sure if you just throw it on the floor and wait long enough, Xena will chew the cap off for you.
She would, and that would be so problematic. So the one I had was very sweet. And yeah, it was whiskey. That's about it.
So this thing is happening that I'm not happy about.
Dun,
Okay.
dun, dun.
I don't generally care about NBA 2K games, but NBA 2K21 has lit a fire underneath myself because it's going to cost $69.99.
Oh, is that confirmed?
I believe that is confirmed. Does anyone have
Yes.
official confirmation?
There have been a lot of articles written about this.
NBA 2K21.
It was this week. It was announced that last week they said it would raise the price of NBA 2K21 by $10. So it's not going to be $59.99. It will be $69.99 for next generation video game consoles.
Right. That's the scuttlebutt, is that next gen console games are going to cost $70. And I have some questions about this, because if you look at developers and you say like, hey, why does this game cost $70? I feel like a lot of developers would say like, well, A, inflation, and B, like the cost of making games has gone up a lot. But what bugs me about that is that it seems like that cost that we're paying isn't being passed along to people who are actually making the games, right? You still hear all these things about burnout and people like crunch, and it's like I want to pay $70 for a good game that's made by people who are taken care of, not pay $70 for a game that's like abused at the people making it. That's what makes me upset.
So I wanted to just throw out there that really the price of video games hasn't changed for almost 15 years.
Yeah, almost exactly 15 years, honestly.
There has been no change in inflation.
Or like they haven't adjusted it for inflation in all that time.
Yeah, exactly. So
and that's
that's
why.
Sorry.
Someone start talking.
This is that moment at the mall where the two people are like accidentally walking, and they both go left, they both go right.
And then the thing all middle-aged white men say, hey, thanks for the dance.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, go.
So yeah, prices of video games haven't changed in 15 years. 15 years ago, $60 with inflation would be an item that cost $80 now.
Right.
I just want to throw that out.
And that's kind of the thing, because 15 years ago, the companies got together and they said, we're going to increase the price of games. Like, we're going to move this up by $10. It used to be $50. Now it's $60 because costs are higher to produce these high quality games, and everybody's buying consoles and everybody's buying console games. So we can do this now. And everyone was all up in arms about it back then, but it's been $60 for the last 15 years. So it's weird because now we don't really think about games being $60 that often, in my opinion.
I do. So all I think I'm realizing is like, I'm poor.
Yeah.
Like,
Amen, sister.
I can't justify a $60 game anymore.
Right.
I really can't. Like, I have so much trouble. I think about everything in the cost of video games. Under $60, it's how many tacos could I buy instead of doing what I'm doing right now.
Depends on where you get the tacos.
Right. And I'm just like,
in Chipotle.
yeah. And then above $60, I'm like, how many video games could I buy? Like my dog had a vet appointment that cost me 15 video games.
Oh, wow.
And that's all I could think about is like, I can't buy video games for so long now. And like, I don't know. $60 feels like too much. $70 feels like I'm not buying any game that isn't on sale anymore. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't buy these new consoles because they're going to be so expensive. I don't know. It's just a lot.
So I totally agree with you. I get why they're doing it. I totally get it. Price hasn't changed in 15 years. Inflation's increased. I get it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be buying games the day they come out.
Yeah.
It's a very rare occasion that I do that. I did it with Doom Eternal. I've actually done it a lot this year.
Mea culpa.
Because I did Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing, and Final Fantasy VII. But these are generally pretty rare for me. As we talked about on one of our, like, how to buy as much stuff as you can with your dollar podcast, probably 60 podcasts ago. I tend to wait for Steam sales.
Yeah.
When I can get stuff, or Humble Bundle for next to nothing.
Right. And I think that's the other thing that kind of like rubs me the wrong way about this price increase is that like back in 2005, when you were paying, even if you were paying $60 at that point for a new AAA video game, you were paying for a physical box, a physical disc, which then when you were done with it, either you could go resell it and get like $20 back or whatever. And I did that all the time. I would buy like 5 or 6 video games, bring them back, sell all of them, get at least another one for free so that you were like defraying part of that cost. But now what we're being asked to do is pay $69 for a code that's one-time use only, and you never get any money back from it. There's no way to resell.
I mean, there's no one forcing you to buy these games the day they come out.
Yeah. And I think that where there's a little bit of that $60, one website that I found says that around $4 to $5 goes to distribution and cost of goods of like a physical hard copy of the game. But I think that the flip side of that is that especially these multiplayer games, because everything is now online, And these companies have to have servers in order to support the games that are running these multiple rooms of multiplayer games happening simultaneously. And so that space where like PlayStation 1 or 2, when you bought a game for $50, it was only happening on your PlayStation, but now it's happening everywhere simultaneously. And so that cost is kind of being redistributed. So I don't know how much that costs the companies now to have everything live in this server world.
Well, and I think maybe I could swallow it too if I knew that's all I needed to buy. But so many of these games are like tacking on DLC or the pass you need every X amount of time to get the extra maps that are coming out. Like, we've had this discussion before where games are not releasing day one even with all their content you would expect out of a new game. I can't swallow this cost for something I know is going to not be changed from what we've seen before, which is not a finished full game, in my opinion, that I'm paying for.
Yeah, that is really tough, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the points. There's an interesting article. There's a Polygon article that you should read that's by Charlie Hall over at Polygon, which talks about kind of how this sort of price hike is affecting the games and what might happen. Because right now, it's not everybody. Right now, it's just 2K20 is the only one, or 2K21.
Yeah.
Is the only company that said we're going to charge $69.99 for this next generation game. But in the article, there is the president and CEO of IDG Consulting, Yoshio Osaki. They talked to him a little bit about stuff. And it's just kind of interesting because it's kind of that same process where it's like before it used to be just Xbox, PS, like the PlayStation, whatever consoles we were using. That was it. There were those things in 2005. There were PCs, but they weren't necessarily the same PCs we have now that were a little bit more widely researched. So like now there's only like 100 million console users to like 500 to 600 million PC users and 1.5 billion phone users. So mobile games is way more lucrative for that kind of stuff. So yeah, it makes sense that they would increase.
Oh, because you're saying there's like less demand.
There's less people buying those things on consoles for it to be that full price.
Interesting. Alex, yeah.
And I'm going to be curious to see if more games follow suit in raising the price. Are they still going to charge more for DLCs, or is that going to be part of like the original code that you pay for?
Knowing 2K.
Because that's why DLCs, that's why microtransactions, that's why loot boxes, that's why all of that has come up in the last 10 years. Because they didn't have that price hike, so they were trying to find ways to offset the increase in cost in making the games. Because a game that you could have made with 10 people back in like 2010 is now taking 100 people to make with an exorbitant more hours because it's more processing time, more detail, more storyline, longer gameplay, more developed characters. Everything that goes into these games is more developed, and to offset that cost, that's where the DLC and all of that extra stuff came into play. So I'm curious to see if raising that price, even if it was like all the way up to $75 or $80, if that, I feel like they're still going to include DLCs and all of that extra stuff because they know people are going to buy it. Because it's been proven now that people are going to spend whatever money they want once they get into a game.
I mean, I would say knowing 2K, just the way that they've handled Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Online and 2K20, NBA 2K20 and just all of their stuff, it's going to be that price and then it's going to cost more for DLC. Yeah, I guarantee. Sure. Yeah. I would be shocked if it didn't.
Well, and I think just like when they raised the price, I mean, we had the same discussion 15 years ago when they raised the prices that like they were.
I didn't. I was like,
I was only 15. I was too busy drinking Mountain Dew and playing Halo.
Hey, that was a lot of your allowance then.
That's true. That was more. I didn't get allowance, so that was a lot.
I asked my mom to buy me games then. So.
Well, what I was going to say was there was that same discussion of people being priced out of the initial release of games to where like I want to be careful here because I don't want to go too well. What I'm saying is not everyone can afford to buy a system and then pay an additional $70 per game. And so I wonder two things. I wonder, A, if this, contrary to what we were talking about earlier, if this is actually going to push more players toward free-to-play games. I think that's probably going to be a thing, especially considering how popular things like Warzone and Fortnite have been. That's not going to change, and people are going to continue to expect that kind of content for free. And especially when the average game is then going to cost $70, what you're talking about is driving people to the free-to-play games. So I think loot boxes, subscriptions, whatever, all of that is here to stay in some format.
I mean, the main thing I want to point out is that Doom Eternal came out 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's only $30 now.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
I could have waited.
Outside of Nintendo, which tends to hold their value longer because Nintendo just does that, and Nintendo also probably won't raise prices for a little bit longer than a lot of the other groups.
That's true. Nintendo's a weird outlier.
And some of their games like are only $40. Like some of the Pokemon games are only $40. I mean, they raised the newest ones to 60, but a lot of games tend to drop value very quickly once they're not the hot thing anymore.
Well, not AAA. I think AAA holds value for a very long time.
Doom Eternal's a
for most of their
AAA, and
games.
it's half off.
Well, most of them, I would say. Like NBA, whatever. I'm sure the old one is like still
in a
full
year
price.
from now, it'll be $5.
Yeah, it'll be $5.
Yeah.
But
And that's
until the
why
next
like
one.
NBA 2K20, that was in the Humble Bundle. I'm sure that they were put in there because they're like, oh, in September 2K21 is going to come out, or October, whenever.
Yep.
And so it's like, yeah, we'll just milk as much profit out of this game as we can for the next like 2 months.
I think it's also a good idea to bring up the fact that there are so many variations in games. Like, remember 15 years ago, you buy a game, it's $60 or $50 or whatever it was. But there's also so many different variations of games now. Like, there are a whole lot of indie developers that have way more platforms to release all these different things on. So this $70 price point is only for these AAA games. There's going to be so many other games that are out there you can play that are only $5, that are only $10, that are $15, $25, that it's going to be way more cost efficient to play, but also is going to be benefiting people more directly. Like, it's going to be benefiting indie developers and people who are putting a lot of work into their games and a lot of love into their games. And I think that's important too, because there's a lot of aspects that are like, especially with like the game passes and the Humble Bundles and the itch.io, they're giving these developers a way to get their product out there, and we can still pay for it, and we don't have to pay $70 for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, overall, what we're seeing is like a stratification of games. So there's like now like really expensive ones, kind of mid-tier stuff that's cool that you can get for less money, and then like bargain bin stuff where it used to just be like the game costs this.
Yeah.
And that's cool, and I hope, in my mind, what I hope that does is drive people to know that they have options and they don't have to build a crazy computer. They can spend, a couple $100 on used parts and play some really fabulous games for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I hope that teaches big game developers that we don't always need super duper high res 4K whatever to have a great time in games.
4K is the biggest joke ever.
I don't know. I really do think ray tracing is pretty cool. Do you have to say that?
Ray tracing.
DLSS seems to be DLSS 2.0 seems to be the Jimmy Jam though.
Jimmy Jam. Jimmy Jam.
All right. Well, if you want to tell us about your Jimmy Jam when it comes to games and what you think about a possible price increase, if you're willing to pay it, if you're not willing to pay it, let us know by hitting us up on our Discord at bit.ly/discobrew, or you can also find us on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, all the things at the GameBrew. This has been really fun getting back to our groove, guys, but it's time to go. So let's say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
You all just missed the best dance party I've ever seen.